Looking to source more vehicles and stay ahead of seasonal slowdowns? Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer now has Offer Accelerator, a flexible add-on that unlocks extra trade-in leads from AutoTrader and KBB.com. Scale your acquisition strategy on your terms. Learn more at b2b.kbb.com.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, Nissan considers making hybrid powertrains in Tennessee to make the Rogue tariff-proof. Redwood Materials shifts away from EV battery recycling, and Asbury Automotive's CEO is stepping down. Plus, we'll hear from Volvo CEO Hakan Samuelsson, who says 2026 will be a comeback year for the automaker.
With those three cars really now ramping up, I'm confident that we will return to growth.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. Nissan's Tennessee powertrain plant was supposed to become the heart of its electric future. Now it might build hybrids instead. The automaker pledged $250 million in 2023 to convert its Deckard factory into an EV motor producer. But those plans are now on ice because of cooling consumer demand and reduced government incentives. Nissan America's chairman, Christian Munier, says the company is studying U.S. production of its e-Power hybrid system, which launches in the redesigned Rogue late next year. A decision comes early next year, with production potentially starting in 2028. Munier tells us at Automotive News, quote, "I'm pushing for it." More on this story in a minute with our own Urvash Kakaria. Battery recycling company Redwood Materials is shifting focus from EV batteries to energy storage systems. The company is responding to lower than expected EV demand and changing federal policies. At the same time, demand for electricity from data centers is expected to surge from 4 gigawatts in 2024 to 123 gigawatts by 2035. Redwood raised $350 million in October to fund energy storage and battery materials projects. It's already built North America's largest microgrid at its Nevada campus to power an AI data center. Asbury Automotive Group CEO David Holt will step back to an executive role in May, handing the CEO job to COO Dan Clara. Holt has led Asbury through major growth since becoming CEO in 2018, tripling earnings and shareholder value. That includes the nearly $1.5 billion purchase of Herb Chambers Companies in July. Clara, who's 45, started at Asbury in 2002 as a management trainee and worked his way up to COO and now CEO. Asbury ranks number 5 on Automotive News' list of top U.S. dealership groups with retail sales of 173,000 new vehicles last year. And those are today's headlines. You can find more details on all those stories at autonews.com. Joining me now to talk more about Nissan's effort to make the Rogue tariff-proof by possibly building hybrid powertrains in Tennessee is our own Urvash Kakaria. Urvash, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Hi, Kel. Good to see you again.
Now, Urvash, what are the most important factors for Nissan here, and why is this an investment CEO Christian Munier wants to make?
So Nissan is studying a plan to essentially localize production of its e-Power hybrid system. This is a hybrid that Nissan has developed in-house, and they're finally bringing it to the United States in their bestseller, which is the Rogue. This is the third generation of e-Power, and the last 2 generations have been relatively underpowered for US consumer driving habits. So Americans like to go fast and they like to go far. And so until now, this hybrid system, which I'll explain what it is in a minute, has been, from a performance standpoint, it probably would not have had much adoption by Americans. So now that Nissan is bringing e-Power to the United States in the Rogue, they want to try and build it in the United States. That's for 3 major reasons. One is they want to offset the tariffs that they would have to pay if they imported the powertrain from Japan. It also kind of gives them more flexibility when it comes to the supply chain. If you're building locally, you can get the product faster to the factory and put it into the Rogues. It kind of also reduces the risk of overseas supply chain disruptions. And then the third reason, which is probably more important than anything else, is the fact that they have an engine factory in Deckard, Tennessee, and obviously, as Nissan's volumes have fallen, that factory is relatively underutilized. It has a capacity to build about 1.2 million engines a year, and right now it's only building at about 35%. So by bringing the e-Power powertrain to the United States, to the Deckard plant, it essentially increases utilization and it reduces the cost of operating that plant.
Well, why else is localization helpful for e-Power?
So Nissan is introducing e-Power initially on the Rogue, which, as I said, is their number one bestseller. But they're also considering bringing e-Power on their subcompact Kicks crossover. The Kicks is available with e-Power in other parts of the world, but it hasn't been brought to the US. Again, because the technology was not ready. But with the third generation, if Kicks is to get e-Power, they're going to have to lower the cost of building and developing the powertrain. And so by localizing e-Power production in Deckard, Nissan will have the tooling, the equipment to also build e-Power powertrains for the Kicks. And by combining the volume, they'll be able to reduce the cost of production, making that equation doable.
And remind our listeners what the e-Power hybrid system is and why it's different from other hybrids, and how important is it for the future of the company?
So, like I said, it's been developed by Nissan, and it's what's called a series hybrid. But essentially, what it is it has a gas engine, but the gas engine is only used to charge a 2 kilowatt hour battery, and then the battery powers an electric motor which powers the wheels. So it's kind of has the same driving feel, the same instant torque as an EV, but it has a gas engine. And the benefit of that is that the gas engine then can keep charging the battery and get it to go a lot further than a 2 kilowatt hour battery would go, which is nowhere. So unlike, let's use an example of Toyota. So Toyota's hybrid system also has a gas engine, but that gas engine not only charges the battery, but it also drives the wheels. Whereas Nissan's e-Power only charges the battery, and then the battery basically powers the motor and drives the wheels. So it's more EV-like than, say, Toyota's system.
Good stuff. Urvash, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Coming up, Volvo CEO Hakan Samuelsson talks about why he thinks 2026 will be a big comeback year for the company. That's next on Daily Drive.
Dealers, are you ready to accelerate your sourcing? Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer introduces Offer Accelerator, the all-new add-on designed to help you unlock more inventory when you need it most. Whether you're facing seasonal dips or planning a big sales campaign, Offer Accelerator gives you access to additional instant cash offer opportunities from AutoTrader and KBB.com. Flexible, scalable, and built to fit your goals. Plus, you only pay for what you get. Power up your campaigns and keep your pipeline strong. Visit b2b.kbb.com to learn more and request a demo today.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Volvo CEO Hakan Samuelsson says he's confident the automaker will return to growth in 2026. He recently spoke with Automotive News Europe managing editor Douglas Bolduc to discuss Volvo's strategy for plug-in hybrids as bridge technology and why he opposes weakening Europe's 2035 emissions target.
Thank you so much, Hakan Samuelsson, CEO at Volvo Cars, for being with us today here on Automotive News. Really great to see you, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Doug.
All right, I'll get started. Hakan, it's been a difficult year for Volvo because you've been trying to match or beat record global sales last year of 700,000, more than 700,000 vehicles. It's just not going to happen. You guys are probably between 8 to 10% behind last year. But again, you're going against a record, so that's kind of a hard thing to have a record every single year. Wanted to ask you, do you think that the pieces are in place for you to return to growth in 2026? And would a new record be possible with all of the actions that you are taking in 2025?
Yes, it's a short answer, and I can tell you why. I mean, we have lost this year in volume basically on two cars. That is the reason for that. The electromobility is growing quite good. I mean, it's really better than the impression you get reading papers. People are hesitating, but we have a good growth in BEV sales. But our problem has been with our bestseller, the small EX30. That was made in China. We had to move it to Ghent. And then, of course, we lost volume. So we are still not back where we were with that car in 24. That's one reason. And the other reason is also well known. Our really flagship car is really ready for the demanding customers really mid this year or something. We said now we are really satisfied with that car. So that volume has also been lagging behind. So those two cars are now ready to be ramped up, and that's why I'm positive for 26. The other reason is that China have lost sales. Electrification is very rapidly, and there we need a long-range hybrid, which is the XC70. And that's the third car really that will bring us volumes in the electrified segment. So with those three cars really now ramping up, I'm confident that we will return to growth.
Okay, fantastic. Are you already anticipating that you might be able to get into or get closer to 800,000? That was a goal many years ago. Because of COVID and other kinds of things that happened, it stopped that goal. Could 2026 be the year that 800,000 becomes a reality? Or do you think you might need another year to get there?
No, I think we are a bit careful now with the volume target because number one, very difficult to predict the market, as everybody said. So I think nobody is doing really hard volume commitments. We should also, of course, include profitability. So let's see where the market is going and what's happening with all tariffs and other types of uncertainty on the market. But what I said with these three cars, we are ready to grow. I mean, now we have the cars we have been lacking before, and let's see our customers, how the market will develop, will define then how many cars that will be. But I think we are ready to grow, but I would not like to give a prediction or forecast.
Fair enough. Yeah. As you said, I mean, it seems like every time a prediction gets made, it has to be readjusted because of factors that are way outside of how you run your business. Wanted to talk a little bit more, dig a little bit more down into what's happening in the US. Volvo has been adjusting to the slowing EV market in the US by adding the PHEV production in South Carolina with the XC60, your basically global number one seller. That should help. Definitely there. But with the emphasis on combustion cars in the US, do you foresee needing some additional all-new products that are sort of a combination of combustion and electrification for that market as it slowly moves towards electrification? Because you know you can't just go electric only there.
It will be difficult. So, but on the other hand, I think you should be careful also believing that the market will go back to combustion cars, because I think we have one underestimated advantage with the electrified cars, all electric, but also with PHEVs with a longer range. And that is the advantage of having your car in the car park or in the garage filled up full every morning. And you never need to go to a gasoline station, which is maybe not such a pleasant experience. We hear that from many customers. So to have your car filled up or charged every morning, and then you would have a range of, say, up to 200 kilometers. How much is that? 150 miles. you very seldom need more during one day. So I mean, you even with the long range plug-in, you would really experience that as an all electric car, and the backup engine would very seldom kick in. So I mean, that advantage is still, and I would say it's extra valid in the US, where a lot of people have their cars parked outside their house, and you could really have an overnight charging. I mean, many people say America is difficult for electrification. I think in many respects, in this respect, it's an ideal market for electrification, and much more difficult if you live in a city and park somewhere on the street, like many times happens here in Europe. So I think right now, of course, the subsidies for electrified car, that is now closed down. And of course, then the sales goes down because everybody was, of course, pre-buying to utilize that before it was closed down. When we are through that process, I think people will not necessarily just return to combustion, but look into a plug-in hybrid, especially as they will be getting longer range. I mean, that's something that I'm sure will come. And then I think we have a very good product for US, and of course we should build that product also in the US to have really fast delivery times, and of course fill our factory, which is there. I mean, we need to utilize that factory. That's also a factor behind that.
Yeah, and you're talking about the XC60 again, which will start production very soon. I was going to ask you also about the XC70, your first long-range plug-in hybrid. We've talked, you and I, a little bit about the plans for it to come to Europe, which I will ask you again about when you might see that happening. But as an addition to the question would be, wouldn't that also be a perfect car for the US with the longer range? But the issue that's holding you back potentially is that it's built in China. So you would have to sort of either build it in another part of the world where you wouldn't face such a heavy tariff, which leads me, again, sorry, to a very longer part of this question, which was, is there potential to build it in the US?
That would be a long shot. First step now, why it's taking, we were planning to bring it to Europe. It has then to be electronics and software has to be replaced with Western compliant software and electronics. I mean, that's a no-no to use Chinese technology in Europe or in the US for that sake. So that will be done. We also have to, of course, fulfill all safety standards that we have in US and in Europe. And what is it? More is also CO2 requirements in Europe. This 50-gram limit we have to fulfill. So that will take some time, and we are working with this as fast as we can, but it will take some time, and we will reveal the exact timing later on. But building it in the US to avoid the tariff is, of course, huge investment. So we have chosen to go with the XC60. But of course, all our cars will be upgraded in all respect when it comes to performance. I wouldn't rule out we will, of course, also do something with the range. Let's wait and see what comes out when we will talk about that more in detail later on.
Volvo CEO Hakan Samuelsson spoke with Automotive News Europe managing editor Douglas Bolduc. You can hear more of that interview on this week's bonus episode of Daily Drive, available on Sunday. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Urvash Kakaria, Riley Hodder, and John Hutter for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on manufacturing, retail, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Iona's CEO, Seth Cutler, about the charging network's build-out and what it expects in 2026.
This year, we've been really marching towards how to deliver what we call quality at scale to customers and demonstrate that we can go from 4 sites to 100 sites.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.